Welcome to Business Beyond Borders, the go-to podcast for CPA firms seeking transformative insights. I'm your host, Lawrence Whittam, and with each episode we'll uncover key insights, best practices, and invaluable resources tailored for CPAs. From trending strategies to diving deep into outsourcing and offshoring, our experts will help in all areas of your business. Hey everybody, and welcome to Business Beyond Borders. Thanks for joining today. So I'm here with Kane Polakoff, and hopefully I pronounced that correctly, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, please. But no, and Kane, I was lucky enough to meet at the Digital CPA conference last year, and again, presenting on outsourcing and offshoring, and definitely CohnReznick are one of the leaders sort of in that field in terms of really bringing the culture together for their offshore talent, and Kane sort of being one of the real big leaders in that space and out there helping other firms as well to tell them how to do it, but also hear from Kane just in terms of the culture at Cohn as well, because you're a reasonably new joiner over the past couple of years as well. So I want to hear from that opinion side of things as well, what you guys are doing different and what attracted you to Cohn from that perspective. So do you want to give just a quick introduction about you and yourself and the business?
Yeah, sure. Lawrence, thanks again for allowing me to have some time with you. I know we're going to have a lot of fun and a lot of good interaction. I know that I enjoyed really spending time with you at Digital CPA and learning about your experience and what you've done. So yeah, so quick background. I've been in the consulting and offshore and outsourcing space for about 28 years now. So started my career at Accenture and went to India my first time back in 2003, and I just finished my 32nd trip there about 3 weeks ago. Of course, I've been to the Philippines, China, all over Europe, South America. So have been fortunate to travel a lot and experience different cultures and experiences across the world. I've been very fortunate to have that background, which has kind of helped me now as I met, as you rightly said, of CohnReznick, which has been over a year. What I've loved about the CohnReznick is providing really the empowerment to leverage my experience, expertise and my experience to help kind of build something that is becoming very special. Leveraging both our team here in the U.S. as well as our offshore team in India, and we can talk more about that a little bit later, to really create a global capacity to support our clients as my practice continues to grow. So it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it, and looking forward to sharing and answering some of your questions as we talk.
Yeah, two very strong areas, and I would say hot topics in the industry in terms of, again, leading the CAS department, right? I mean, that's a big area that a lot of firms are looking into and really scaling as of now, and also utilizing offshoring. So, I mean, extremely helpful from that perspective. So do you want to share just a little bit about what you currently have in place? Again, I know that you personally have been, especially being with Accenture, right? Such a large player in the industry and the space, but now with CohnReznick, like, where do they have team members? And I know that you're personally going out and visiting and doing a lot of the best practices really in following that. So can you share a little bit about just the structure?
Yeah, so as I kind of moved from managing and leading BPO companies over the last 6 years, I've been within public accounting firms and really getting a good understanding of what CAS means, which is client advisory services. So with CohnReznick, as I said a little bit earlier, it's been about a year. So I had the approach to really kind of take a step back and kind of determine how do I put all the key ingredients together to allow ourselves to scale. I think that's one of the biggest challenges I think a lot of CAS practices have is how do you scale, with how many people do you have, what verticals do you go after, what's your tech stack, and so many other things that you really need to think as you kind of build that foundation. And I look at it from really three perspectives. One is from a people side, two is from a process side, and three is from a technology side. So on the people side, what we've done is kind of develop verticals. So kind of looked at a lot of the verticals that we're growing very largely within our public accounting firm on the tax side, on our Value 360 side, and others, and kind of put together those 4 or 5 verticals that we knew we wanted to focus on. And with that said, identifying some of the key people that we moved into leadership roles within our practice, as well as bringing in talent from outside. So, from a people aspect, we have directors and senior managers and managers that have been in the space from 10 to 25 years now, that are really helping to lead and drive those verticals. And then we replicated that same model in Chennai. So, with leveraging our captive we've had now for over 10 years, we've got over 1,000 people there. We're building out our org structure to kind of replicate the structure that we have in the U.S. So, which makes it nice. So as we focus on real estate or renewable energy or the different verticals we have, we're really building that, not only the accounting background and understanding, but the knowledge of the industry, the nomenclature, what makes it tick, the KPIs, and those are a critical factor that we've used. From a technology side, we leverage really a tech stack by vertical. So, looking at real estate, leveraging, Yardi as an example, or a non-for-profit, it could be Sage Intacct or NetSuite. So, we've kind of built our tech stack by vertical that it not only encapsulates the general ledger systems, but AP automation, our FP&A, helping to standardize and automate, which helps to us as we kind of built that foundation to be able to scale. And then on the process side, helping to kind of develop the standard operating procedures, making sure that we have the right controls in place, and helping to leverage our technology and the people, but become more process dependent instead of people dependent. So that allows us, as we kind of build out our team here in the U.S. as well as offshore, we're able to train them on the process and not having all the information in people's heads. So if somebody leaves or we move them to another client, we don't lose all that expertise. So that's a big part of that foundation that we've now built, and it's going pretty well within the last year here at CohnReznick.
Now, I know that you've been over to India, and again, you've been personally back and forth from and to the office like multiple times over there, which is great to see. And I really push a lot of firms, especially with back offices, to go visit. I mean, it's your extension of your team, it's your team members. Like, you want to create that leadership there and investment in them, because then they'll do the same thing, right? I mean, they'll then want to stay with you. I think just even coming into it, like, again, you guys are about 1,000 people, you said offshore now, right? So where were you before, as you came into the firm, right? What number were you at then? And also, like, what were some of those challenges that, with your experience in the BPO side, you really saw immediately, like, yeah, I've got to get my hands dirty, I've got to fix this, and this is how we're going to be able to take this to the next level?
Sure. So the firm, the work that was being done before I joined was more on the tax and assurance side. So that was really the focus, and that's evolved over the year. The CAS side really didn't exist. It was, there was a couple people when I started. So, now we've grown to 25. We're going to be hoping to 50, 100, 200 as we kind of move up. And when you think of some of the challenges, is the way that the tax group works and the assurance group works with busy seasons. There's different types of shift timings and different types of expectations. For my team, the vision is to have the team working directly with the U.S. and also with our end clients, and to have that communication. So as we touch base with our CAS clients on a daily basis, that is an expectation. So communication, understanding, listening, soft skills become even more prevalent, and as we kind of build that team up and support those efforts. So some of the challenges, are the shift timing. So what shift time do you work in Chennai? That's where we're located. And how does that cover the majority of the shift here in the U.S.? Now, I'm not a huge advocate for working night shift in Chennai, because you get, attrition and there's other challenges, especially when you look at having to get public transportation home, and some of the folks are driving or taking a two-wheeler or coming, an hour and a half away back and forth. So we're trying to find, we moved our shift timing now more to 12 to 9 to cover more of the India Standard Time here in the U.S. So that, that's one aspect of it. The second thing is looking at the different types of technologies. So, we find a lot of the individuals were worked more comfortably with, say it would be SAP or Oracle. And now, with the CAS practice, you have Yardi and NetSuite and Sage Intacct. So having to kind of retrain the staff and to be able to how to use those tools and leverage them, those became, that's a challenge initially, but that's, we're getting into certification and getting them onboarded in the right way so they can support our efforts. So it's been a transformation of our team of how they're going to focus and support our clients, and to be able to pick up the phone and have conversations and set expectations. So, the challenge is, how do you get them into that point where they're working directly with the client and the client's comfortable with that as well? So that's kind of where we are. We're still at the very beginning of our foundation of growth and our maturity, but it's kind of fun to see as things kind of move on.
And I like how you put in it, especially like somewhat harping on the training factors and these types of elements that we know as firms here, like we put the same effort into team members and employees over here, right? We put the framework around it. We're trying to make sure that we can create a system that works with the talent available to us, right? In that sense as well. And again, CohnReznick, you guys are one of the larger firms. At the end of the day, you've been doing it for a number of years, but you're investing. You know that this is the avenue you want to go. You've got your team members in the US as well, right? This isn't a replacement. This is making sure that you're growing an enhancement to it. And you're putting in the same investment you would over here, though. Right, at the end of the day, and that involvement of you personally traveling back and forth, and I'm sure your tax partners do the same thing, and your insurance partners, right? So maybe talk about that element as well, like from a cultural side, right?
Sure.
You going over and how your experience has been, because that's a thing that I've been multiple times. I haven't been 32 times. I've been 10 times. But tell me how that is for you going over every time.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I remember my first time getting out of the Chennai airport, and you're feeling overwhelmed when you have thousands of people and you're hoping that there's somebody there to pick you up to take you back to the hotel. But over the years, just like so many cultures across the world, everybody is unique, but everybody's very similar too. So I think as you look at the people here in the U.S. and work-life balance and providing them all the right tools to support them and be a part of it, I think with now COVID being a little bit further behind us, I try to make time to get together as a group here in the U.S. Well, the same thing we're doing in our Chennai operation. So we took the whole team out to dinner and to lunch. We had some activities that we've done together. We've laughed. We've had contests, push-up contests. Getting to meet people on a personal level is very important, because talking like we are right now is different than meeting in person and having that conversation. And I think that's what's important, is getting to know who they are, what makes them tick, and how they would want to partner, and also give them the tools so they could be successful. And, I apply that same kind of logic, whether you're in Chennai or China or in the US or somebody who's next door to me. So, but you have to make that investment. I think it is critical to spend the time with the team, laugh with them, understand them, help them. And then you see there's a great collaboration that comes from that. And when times are tough, and I think we know in this space, being a service provider, there's a lot of pressure and expectations to deliver timely and with quality. You want to feel comfortable, and they should feel comfortable that you're here to support them and help them to be successful. And I think that's a critical factor when you look at it and how you want to build it going forward.
And I think back to one of my classes in college, international business, right? Mm-hmm. And we talk about in that frame, and when I talk to other firm leaders and we talk about having clients internationally, right? But before you go and visit them, you tend to look up their culture, and you tend to see, okay, what shouldn't I do when I'm there, just to make sure I don't do something wrong? Is there anything that if they are coming to India and if they want to work with the team, what should they maybe focus on doing, and what shouldn't they do, right? Just from a cultural difference between us and them that maybe you've picked up on over the years that could help.
Sure. I mean, I think that's always a great thing too, because I think that it's how you treat people which is important. I think if an individual, I think this goes for almost any culture, is if you're direct in a bad way, you get malicious, you attack people, you blame them for things, I think that's going to backfire. So I see that constructive feedback is such a critical part of what we have. apologize for it. But I think that I think constructive feedback is such an important factor to build the confidence and support. If you don't do constructive feedback, then it could backfire, and you can really ruin your relationship very easily, and the trust. I've seen countless times when clients or even others come in and are very competitive and blame them for everything. And this not only can be for Chennai or anywhere in the world, and make them feel bad. And how could you make that mistake? I couldn't believe you did that. And I've seen that happen 100 times, and it fails then. So it has to be a partnership. It has to be a collaboration. And then I think on a personal level, you have to treat them as equals. And when I say everybody as equals, if you don't do that, I see that as also an area that it causes concern. And you have to get in there and be with them and spend time with them. I think what people make mistakes is they come in, they go to their hotel, they come spend a little bit of time with the team, and they leave, right? So, and then they say, here, I'm done. So I think it's by being there, spending the time there, showing your face, working with them, supporting them. I think those are the most important things. Or you can do crazy things like me and get on a two-wheeler and drive around Chennai. That could be get on a rickshaw with them, get in and go see some of their native places, go have dinner at their houses. So I think whatever you can do to build that relationship is going to go a long ways. And I think people make that mistake and just come in and leave and say we're done, but that should only be the beginning. And I think that's something that if you are going to make that investment in any team, you have to spend the right amount of time there to support them. So
completely agree. And now one of the things you mentioned before as well, when it comes to somewhat of the process and again, respecting what times they're working, right? You said you don't really like them working late night shifts and things like that because of a retention side of things, right? So now one of the challenges I hear from a lot of firms is that communication problem that comes up. So let's say when you're trying to do that and you're trying to now bring down that time so that they're not overlapping as much, and they think, and a lot of team members think they need to be on that call during the day, they need to have this communication and at least be accessible, right? Now, obviously that stops them being as accessible during those hours, and you've got to make sure that, again, you plan ahead of time and you make sure you don't give a project that's due on the day of, so that you can't have to chase them and stuff. But other than that, how have you guys set it up so that you don't have those issues, right, when you're able to have them in those earlier shifts?
Yeah, so I think you have a couple individuals that may stretch a little bit longer from a communication, but I think it's just like you have staff. A lot of our staff works virtually here, is setting expectations and deadlines and assigning ownership, and trying to, as you look at, we do ongoing accounting and making sure that the transition, that part of the team, we have recordings we do also. So you look at from training, you have recordings of meetings and things like that you can share with the team. So I think that's an important thing. And you take advantage of the time zone difference. So instead of looking at it as a pediment, well, oh my God, it's 4:00 in the afternoon here, and the team is sleeping. The nice thing about it is you send an email at the end of your day, and then in the morning when you wake up, it should be taken care of. So instead of looking at, oh my God, I don't have those 3 or 4 hours that I can leverage the team, take advantage of that time when you're sleeping so that work can be taken care of. So I think we have daily checkpoints, with each different projects that we have. We have project managers that help work and correlate and take meeting minutes. So it's just over communication is really the key. And that I think that applies really to any process, and making sure that the key should be making people successful. So I've seen also cases in the past where you have different geos are fighting with each other. U.S. doesn't like China, or U.S. doesn't like India, or vice versa. And there are people trying to sabotage, as an example. Yeah. But I think it's important that you have to have buy-in on all sides, that people are there working together collaboratively to try to meet a client expectation. And if that doesn't happen, then you have breakdowns in communication and delivery. So which is you want to try to avoid.
Now when we speaking to maybe some of the larger firms that are getting involved in it, and there's a lot of larger firms and mid-sized firms that really haven't dipped their toe in it for as long as, again, CohnReznick has, right, in that sense. And again, you guys are really at the scaling point, right, and you're growing very consistently. You've been doing it for a number of years. And now, but for some of those that are getting started with it, and can you talk about some of the structure side of things? Like, do you have an internal management team over there? Do you have that is not regarding like helping with the work necessarily? Do you have a partner over there? Did you have a director? And you may not know necessarily, you may know how it started out with CohnReznick, but like what should that framework look like for these firms sort of expanding and looking into it?
Yeah, so there's two approaches you can take, really three. There's one is you can use a BPO model where you use a third party to work and set up your operation where, the team, and I've been part of that also in my past, where, they're working with a public accounting firm and they already have the team, the leadership, and they really work from that end. Yeah. The second approach is the captive, which is what we have. And I'll talk about that, is where, we own, it's our employees, it's our staff. And then of course, you can have even their staffing now, where you can go and work with staffing firms in different parts where they can staff work for you. So it's almost like using a staffing agency here in the U.S. But hey, I want 2 people for this, and they staff the people and you work with them. So that's those are the 3 approaches. Sometimes you can use all 3. So from a captive, we are fortunate to have Krishnan, who started this, 10, 15 years, I think it's about 15 years ago now that I think about it. And he was a tax partner here. And of course, he was from Chennai and had, his family and relationships. So he had experience actually with doing this and for previous organizations. And we were fortunate to have him become part of our organization, which he's still here today. And he helped to kind of establish the foundation. So he, as a partner, he went back and forth between the U.S. and Chennai, and then hired a team and built an infrastructure and found an office and kind of went through all that process. So, so we do have a partner, we do have leadership, we do have people and culture. We do have all the things you think of a public accounting firm would have here in the U.S. And that's what makes it easy. I mean, we have recruiters that are out recruiting staff. We have trainers, and I think that's an important part of as to be successful, is that you need to have folks that are there in leadership that's waking up every day, and just like the leaders here in the U.S. and taking care of the staff and making sure they're getting trained. If there's issues that happen, they're able to address it. And so that's the approach that we've taken, and the same thing as we build out now our Philippines office, and making sure that we have the right infrastructure and leadership in place to do that. And if organizations don't have that, I think going down a third party path would be a first step of helping to kind of get to that point. There are cases where, which is a build, operate, and transfer, where you can leverage a third party, and then eventually it transfers to you, which is called boat, which you're familiar with. So, I think there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, but the critical thing is having key leadership that's there to support your efforts and being there to help drive to the same vision that you have.
And I'm sure as well over there you've had some pretty good events as well. So they do throw a very good party a lot of the times with the team members over there and stuff.
Oh, we don't do any. There's none of that. Come on, it's all work, Lawrence. Come on, you know how that works.
But no, but that's perfect. I mean, again, covering those different. Again, there are so many different ways to skin the cat, essentially, and it's and again, it's going to fit. Some models are going to fit better with different firms, but But again, getting to the point of it is very important to, as you're building that team, right, to build out leadership, to make sure that there are people really focusing on this daily, right? And again, being over there, they can help you with that cultural side of as well and things like that. So now, can you give us as we sort of come to the close-ish, can you go towards, like, let's say a couple of best practices, right, that firms could really think about, that you think that, guys, if you do this, you're already outsourcing, but if you do this, it's most likely going to help out your situation. It's going to remove some of those headaches that you're currently having. Can you give us one or two of those?
So, so I think step one is having the right leadership in place. And individuals that collaborate and partner with the U.S. team. I think that if you don't have that, you're never going to be successful. So that's one. I think two is you want to have a very robust recruiting, onboarding, and training program. So I think that's critical to have that, from a certification process to a support process. So that is. If not, I mean, you look at knowledge transfer. I mean, you train the trainer and all that. So you need to have a team. So you have the leadership working with recruiting and training to be able to train the staff that you bring in. And, when you look at each of the projects you may want to look to move over, you want to make sure you have SOPs in place and to validate, the information, make it more black and white. I think that's also very important, and in setting that expectation. So, and then third, I think the quality management is also important in performance. So execution of what is the goals and aspirations of how many widgets should be per hour? What is the quality of that? How are you going to review it? And making sure you have those controls in place. So as you're learning, as the business grows, you want to have that safety net, whether initially maybe here in the U.S. From a review perspective, but my goal is to have that being done out of our Chennai operation as well. So, yeah, but it takes time and learnings in order to get to those points. So those are probably the three critical factors. I mean, I can go over a list of 100 if you like to, but I think that is important. Of course, you need to find the right people that can work in the process too, and make it more process dependent, as I shared earlier on in our discussion. And I think that's a great starting point. And don't start too fast, and don't start too slow. So try to find a couple of accounts and finding that balance and pushing in the right way. But find those friendly clients or those friendly projects that you can start where you can minimize the risk of impacting something. But it is like anything. You're taking it's an adventure. I'll look at it. It's an adventure of learning how to partner and learn. And just as we've had to learn how to work virtually, and in a lot of cases here in the U.S., which is a critical thing as well.
And I think one of the pieces in there, which was, again, from listening to you at the DCPA conference, was you'd mentioned, you asked the question to everybody there. There was probably 60, 70 people in the audience, different firm owners. And you said, so how many people have a SOP written down for the processes? And again, you probably had half the hands go up in terms of I've written it. How many have changed their SOP or adapted it? I think there was 2 firms out of
and that's right. So, for sure.
Adapting those, and again, you've sort of mentioned it throughout a little bit and hinted towards it. But again, you've changed certain processes, right? You've adapted them to make it a fit for the people that are doing it as well, and for the talent available, and again, we're always evolving, right? At the end of the day, so there's new technology every year and every day, right, that we can implement. But there's also better processes and better ways that we can do things. So again, you've sort of adapted those a lot more as well by utilizing the team offshore, which is cool to see. Now, what about the final thing is, one of these elements that I do want to get across is, again, what firms are doing differently as a whole within the US as well, like just to bring new talent to the industry, right? And to make the profession a bit more attractive. So what do you see at Cohn that you guys are doing differently, that you're are you getting into the high schools and trying to educate a little bit? Are you trying to, again, I know that obviously you guys are going into the advisory side of things, which is a lot more fun. I mean, you can also make more, you can pay people more, right, for doing those types of services. So there's entry-level salaries are going up, but what are you guys doing that you see that is making an impact, and what can other firms then jump in and try and do that more with their firm so that we can make a larger impact?
Well, that's the tough question of the day. I see it's a good one to end with. So, I mean, I think that we've all seen them, and statistics show that there's not as many accountants that are coming out of colleges anymore, and it's not seen as a sexy thing to do, right? I'll use that word because people laugh when I say that. And however, I think we can make it sexy again when you think about just leveraging CAS and technology and working with CFOs and really looking at business insights. And so there's a lot of good stories that public accounting firms can tell now. And I think we need to become better at positioning that. Assurance is so critical. Same with tax work, advisory. But to be able to kind of bring awareness into, like my daughter, who's a junior in college, or and I have a daughter who's a senior in high school, of Dad, what do you do? And to be able to share the excitement of, I love coming to work every day, and every day is different and unique and could be challenging. Some days are great. Some days could be very difficult. And so I think, what we're doing is, definitely getting into doing a lot more internships and looking even beyond the accounting background. So looking at, engineers or mathematicians or even history majors. I have somebody on my team who's an art major. And she's, so I think it's being more open to trying to find the way to think, to have the soft skills, to be analytical. And I think that is helping us. We've continued to bring in some great talent here in the US. And I think even in our offshore too, is we're being more open-minded to find, the social skills, the interactions, the relationships. That's a big part of what we are becoming. And we're becoming more and more like a consulting firm. I mean, we are a consulting firm. When you think about it, before, when I was at Accenture, it used to be Arthur Andersen that became management consulting and Arthur Andersen. So I think that is the biggest focus, is opening up to be more open-minded, that you don't have to. Of course, we want you to have the accounting experience, but once you come and take an intern and see how that works. And I have a couple of folks here too that they're in business school at Michigan, and they're evaluating whether they want to go into accounting or not. They've taken some accounting classes and they're excited about it. So finding those folks out there and to make them aware of what the opportunities could be. You're right, because it's a great profession. You have to work hard, but it's also very rewarding too. Yeah. And it's something that's continued to grow. There's such a demand in the marketplace for what we do, and to find the great people and to be able to grow quickly and eventually become a partner, you can live a very comfortable life. So it's neat. It's neat to see those types of things. So that's kind of the focus we have done. But I've seen the market open up recently, so we're seeing a lot more applicants and folks that have come from technology. I think there's been a downsize in technology. I think you've probably seen that. So a lot of those folks are looking to get into CAS and do more of the implementation of technology solutions for accounting, which we do also. So I think there's a lot of different types of unique things that we do that can encapsulate not only accounting only technology and project management and solutioning, and all those are things that you may need engineers to help you out with too. So that's a long answer to your question, Lawrence.
No, but again, a lot of things happening as well, and I would expect that with some of the larger firms, right? But it's what's happening, right? So that's why it's better asking you than say. But it's things that I'm sure there are multiple things in there that other firms aren't doing. Right, as well, like, because you guys are doing a lot of different aspects there. So no, really appreciate having you on, Kane. Really appreciate you sharing all that. Extremely valuable. How can people reach you if they need to get in contact? I'll post your information on the podcast, but how can they reach you? How would you like them to?
Yeah, so they could just reach out to me on LinkedIn. So, Kane Polakoff, you can see me. I do post. You can see all my ventures and where I'm going in my team. So if you post a message out there, I respond as much as I can to everybody, and happy to answer any questions and help. My job is not only to build a great practice for CohnReznick, but to be able to build a great CAS industry specific across the country for CAS going forward. And I really do think that there's just an enormous opportunity. I talked to another large top 50 today that they're looking to really make an investment in CAS, and it's just exciting to see that where it's gone in the last 5 to 6 years. It's amazing. As I get together for some of these leadership conferences I go to and advisory boards of how far we've gotten, where the talent is really getting up there. I think I like to say before is people that were not doing a good job in public accounting firms or weren't able to do tax and audit or on PIPs, they would be moved to CAS, right? But now we're finding it different, that a lot of the top talent and others are looking to come and be part of it. And not saying tax and assurance is bad at all. I'm just saying it's a different mindset change. So which is pretty special for me. It makes me excited to continue to move forward within the space.
I'm sure there'll be some internal sports competitions within firms between the CAS, the tax issue.
Well, hopefully I'll have to get my boots out, right, to play some soccer.
So I know in India they'll happily have a cricket match.
Oh yeah, well cricket, I'm not very good at cricket, so I can try to hit. I can hit a baseball, but hitting a ball for cricket is a little challenging. So
yeah. No, well, really appreciate it, Kane. No, and it's great getting to know you a bit more. And thank you for sharing everything. And again, everybody, feel free to reach out to Kane or myself if you need an introduction. And hope you found this episode of Business Beyond Borders very helpful. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in to Business Beyond Borders. I'm Lawrence Whittam, and it's been a pleasure bringing you impactful insights tailored for the modern CPA firm. Remember, the world of accounting is vast and ever-evolving, and we're here to navigate it together. For more resources and episodes, don't forget to subscribe and reach out to our experts. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of your business and explore the limitless possibilities beyond borders.